devil's advocate here a bit.
Go,
yeah.
do that.
I mean that is interesting. You know, you talk about the consultant, you know, kind of giving you their you know, asking for the watch and then telling you what time.
Yeah.
I mean, this is. It sounds to me, and you know, it'd be really interesting to hear what you have to say to that. That's kind of classic management consultancy. You know, that's what management consultants do. They go into a situation where businesses are stuck, or there's some kind of impasse, there's some kind of bottleneck, and they try and unravel. Usually what they say is, look, you know, you need to make redundancies here or restructuring there or do that. But what are you doing which is different from that? And where does your heritage as a designer, even though you say you're not really trained as a conventional designer, where does that formation feed into what you're doing now?
Because I think, to answer your question specifically, which is that, yes, it is management consultancy.
Yeah.
And that is what I claim on my LinkedIn page now, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But it's a different way of going about it.
Okay.
Too often in traditional management consulting, it's a sausage machine version. They go do the same thing in each of the different organisations. It's very suity and booty, right? It's all very, very processy in that respect. Whereas what I do is start with the people. It's about doing the listening part of it, figuring out really what's going on. Bear in mind that for quite a lot of organisations, if you're running an organisation, you can actually be quite isolated from what's actually going on at the coalface, especially if things aren't going brilliantly at the moment, because people don't want to tell someone the bad news. And somehow what we have to do is create the conditions and permissions where people can have voice and can bring that voice to the problem much, much earlier on.
Yeah.
Now that's a difference. So I'll give you know, so your classic version of how this works would be everyone sitting around a board table. There'd be either a PowerPoint or an Excel spreadsheet and some number crunching going on. And there'll be someone who will be talking across the table at someone.
Yeah.
And probably 60% of the people will be sitting in you know, keeping quiet.
Yes.
When you take the kind of techniques that we use in the world of design and innovation, we start mapping things up on the wall. We start sketching, we saying, do you mean like this or do you mean like this? What's the advantages of this one? What are the pros and cons of this going this approach, of that approach? Let's do some really simple version of some dot voting on the different things. So what you're doing is you're flattening out that hierarchy. You're letting people, you're creating the right mechanisms where people can actually contribute and contribute early in the process rather than for something to be shoved on to an organisation and then suddenly they're reacting. And the other part of it is that, again, it goes back to the human part, is that when an organisation is, you know, going through some sort of change or transformation or something else, the first thing, you know, it's natural to think, well, how's that going to affect me?
Yes.
Am I going to lose status? Am I going to lose authority? Am I going to lose my team?
Yes.
Am I going to lose my job?
Yes.
Right? Now, unless you're sensitive and bring some empathy into that part of the process earlier on, then it just becomes a shove. It's not a pull and bringing people with you. And that's why so many of these things fail.
Yeah.
When you look at the data is shocking. Less than 15% of CEOs think that their organisational change produced the results that they were promised. 15%. If you look at even digital transformations, right, the success rates are less than 30%.
Yes.
And that's for the digitally savvy ones. If you take all of those out, it drops between 4 and 11%.
Yeah. So what you're saying is organisational transformation, business transformation, does not work. I mean, you know, it's not working.
It's not got a great track record.
Yes.
And I think it's because they miss out the human element of finding out what's going on, and they set off in the wrong direction. They don't do the legwork at the beginning. So what happens, you know, is they go off in a particular direction, spend a chunk of cash, and then find it's not working. Well, then that's quite hard to recover from. Whereas what we know in the world of design is that it's all about what you do at the beginning and how you making sure that you're working on the right problem,
Yes.
not the wrong problem.
But why